Hey everyone, I'm Mr. Willis, and welcome back to You Will Love AP Government. Thanks for joining me for another video on one of the topics of Unit 1 in the AP U.S. Government course curriculum. Today's video is all about Topic 1.2, Types of Democracy. If you're taking notes for your AP class or prepping for the AP exam, remember to click on the link below and download the free guided notebook page to make it easier to follow along. Let's get right to it. In this video, our goal is to explain how models of representative democracy are visible in major institutions, policies, events, or debates in the U.S. The United States was founded on the principles of republicanism, a representative form of democracy where elected officials are entrusted to act on behalf of the people. However, there has always been debate over how democratic that representation should be. Should everyone participate directly and equally, or should governance be left in the hands of a select, educated few? These questions gave rise to the three models of representative democracy: participatory, pluralist, and elite democracy. Participatory democracy emphasizes broad participation in politics and civil society. It's rooted in the idea that the more people are involved in the decision-making process, the better the outcomes for society. We see participatory democracy at work in town hall meetings, grassroots movements, and digital activism, where individuals use social media and online platforms to organize protests, mobilize voters, and advocate for social and political change. We also see it reflected through ballot initiatives, referendums, and recall elections, which allow voters to have a direct say in policy decisions at the state and local levels. Participatory democracy aligns closely with the ideal of popular sovereignty, the belief that the authority of the government is created and sustained by the consent of its people. Pluralist democracy focuses on group-based activism by non-governmental organizations and interest groups. It accepts that society is composed of various groups with different interests, and democracy works best when these groups compete and negotiate to influence public policy. This is evident in the influence of organizations like the National Rifle Association, the American Civil Liberties Union, and environmental groups such as the Sierra Club, all of which seek to impact legislation and government decisions through lobbying, public campaigns, and litigation. Political action committees and issue-based advocacy groups also play a key role in mobilizing public opinion and influencing elections. Pluralist democracy reflects the theory of pluralism, which suggests that power is distributed among many competing groups, preventing any single entity from dominating. Elite democracy emphasizes limited participation in politics and civil society. This theory argues that a small number of people, often the wealthy, well-educated, or connected elites, actually control political decision-making. While elections occur and the public technically has a voice, real influence is exercised by a few individuals or institutions who have more wealth, power, and influence than the general population. This model suggests that despite democratic structures, a small group of powerful actors often holds the most sway over public policy. Campaign finance, particularly through super PACs and dark money organizations, allows affluent donors to shape election outcomes and legislative agendas. Additionally, high-level government positions are frequently occupied by individuals with elite educational and professional backgrounds, further concentrating power. The Founding Fathers had different opinions about which democratic model would work best for the nation. Some feared that a more participatory democracy would lead to the potential for tyranny of the majority, in which an uneducated or impulsive public would trample the rights of individuals or minority groups. Others thought that a more elite or pluralistic democratic model would lead to the concentration of unchecked power in the hands of an abusive and tyrannical central government, echoing their experience under British rule. The ongoing tension between the broad participatory model of democracy and the more filtered participation associated with pluralist and elite models is reflected in several foundational documents. Brutus No. 1 presents a powerful anti-federalist critique of the proposed U.S. Constitution and the elite model of democracy. Brutus argues that a large, centralized republic would distance government from the people, making it harder for citizens to have meaningful input in the political process. He writes, "In a republic, the manners, sentiments, and interests of the people should be similar," suggesting that only small, localized governments under a participatory democratic model can truly represent the will of the people. He warns that in an extended republic, the public good is sacrificed to 1,000 views, meaning that competing interests and powerful factions, hallmarks of pluralist and elite models, would dominate policymaking at the expense of ordinary citizens. Brutus also expresses concern about the potential for elite domination, stating, "In so extensive a republic, the great officers of government would soon become above the control of the people." These quotes reflect Brutus's belief that the Constitution would erode broad participatory democracy by placing too much power in the hands of distant representatives and elites, ultimately weakening the people's ability to govern themselves directly. By contrast, Federalist No. 10, written by James Madison, explores how to protect democratic government from the dangers of factions, or groups of citizens united by interests contrary to the rights of others or the the common good. In doing so, Madison reveals benefits of a more filtered pluralist and elite model of democracy. He argues that a large republic, where power is exercised through elected representatives, is better equipped to control the effects of factions than a small one with more direct citizen participation. Madison warns that in pure democracies, there is nothing to check the inducements to sacrifice the weaker party or the obnoxious individual, meaning majority rule could threaten minority rights. To counter this, he advocates for representative democracy, where the public voice, pronounced by the representatives of the people, will be more consonant to the public good than if pronounced by the people themselves. This reflects a filtered system that limits direct participation and instead relies on a republic governed by a select, presumably more qualified, group of individuals, a key feature of the elite and pluralist models. At the same time, Madison still supports popular sovereignty, since representatives are ultimately chosen by the people. Federalist No. 10, therefore, promotes a structure that balances democratic input with institutional mechanisms to manage the risks of majority rule and factionalism, leaning towards a more refined, pluralist vision of democratic governance. And then there's the Constitution itself. On one hand, it incorporates elements of direct citizen involvement, such as the election of members of the House of Representatives every 2 years, reflecting the participatory model's emphasis on wide access to political power. On the other hand, the Constitution also includes mechanisms that limit direct participation and instead favor more filtered decision-making. For example, senators were originally chosen by state legislatures, and the Electoral College system buffers the public's influence in selecting the president. Together, these constitutional structures demonstrate the founders' intent to balance democratic input with mechanisms designed to stabilize governance and prevent mob rule under a constitutional system that became known as the Madisonian model. And that's everything you need to know about types of democracy. You can click here for additional videos for AP U.S. government, and be sure to check out my videos on AP macroeconomics and AP microeconomics as well. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more content on AP government and economics. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time on You Will Love AP Gov.